Hello everyone, a warm greetings. I'm Suryanarayana S. Mohan, a BCom LLB Honours graduate belonging to the 2019 batch of the Tamil Nadu National Law University, Tiruchirappalli. I'm so glad that I've been given this opportunity by Mr. Shubhankar from gkonliner.com to address or to respond to a few queries raised by students from different locations. To start with, by mentioning a bit about myself, as I told, I belong to the 2019 batch of the Tamil Nadu National Law University. I happen to be the second batch of TNNLU. Immediately after my graduation, I was associated with a corporate law firm in Chennai for a very brief period, post which I moved into litigation to try my luck at it. At present, I am in London to join the London School of Economics and Political Science, a premier Russell Group institution, to pursue my Masters of Law, specializing in corporate and commercial laws. So, to start with, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say I am what I am today is because of my alma mater, the Tamil Nadu National Law University. So, I feel humbled to extend my gratitude to all my professors and friends at TNNLU for helping me throughout the phase of life. So TNLU is one place where there is literally zero judgment to learn and explore new things. Given its very young and relatively vibrant nature, there's there has always been a scope for personal growth with absolutely no sense of or absolutely no fear of external judgment. In fact, I staunchly believe that it is the encouragement and support from the community which is surrounded that shapes one's skill set or that shapes that molds a student as well. In TNLU, you're very safe to make mistakes, although learning from mistakes is not always the right way or the best option. It sometimes is the only option around. Yeah. So I did a lot of mistakes from which I learned a lot, and I'm here, like in London, all set to join LSE to pursue my LLM. So I'll directly get into the questions raised by few students. To start with, someone have asked which law course is better, a 3 year course or a 5 year course. Well, there is literally no difference between a 3 year and a 5 year course, academically speaking. Those who are into law are clear from the beginning that they want to pursue a career in law. It is very wise for them to choose a 5 year degree to get into law immediately after their high secondary education to save you the trouble of having to study two different degrees in entirety. Whereas if someone is very unsure as to what they're going to do or what he or she wants to pursue, or whether if law is the right career in the very beginning, or if they're set to develop any new interest at a later stage in life, say after joining some other stream of study, you tend to develop an interest in law, then you can very well come back to pursue a 3 year law degree anytime after completing your first degree. It is also pertinent to note that any 3 year law degree will need you to have already completed uh, a first degree, for a first undergraduate degree, to become eligible to enroll in a 3 year law degree. Apart from this, there is literally no difference with regards to subject or how much one gets to learn uh, in the entire course. So, that being said, yes, also one more point is that 3 year courses are not being offered in every university at this moment. Like a lot of new universities, NLUs, or a lot of other not new budding non-NLU universities tend to offer only 5 year degree course for their students. So one should keep that as well in mind. So if one decides to pursue a 3 year law degree, then their options might slightly get narrowed down, not academically but university wise. Yes. Moving on to the next question, someone has asked, how is a life or how is the life of a law student? To be frank, life of a law student is just crazy. The life of a law student can really go either way depending on how you decide to utilize or put it to use. You can literally whine away your time and end up to just pass your degree, or you can choose to toil to the fullest by tapping all the resources which the university or the college or the legal field in particular has to offer. Uh, the irony is that by embracing either of these choices, by completely doing nothing, just passing a degree, or by tapping full resources and equipping yourself to the fullest, by embracing either of these options, you can very well end up being successful for the time being in whatever field or specialization you choose to be in. But the real growth will depend on the quantum of effort you put in, the quantum of hard work you put in the pursuit of your vision, in the pursuit of achieving your vision, or in the movement towards your vision. If you ask me, I'd personally say there are three key factors which will drive you towards success in this legal field, starting from the university days. To start with, your curiosity and never ending passion to learn, other words, persistence. Your zeal to pursue something, or your zeal to understand something in a more dynamic manner, in other words, your confidence. And the third and most important is your ability to make, maintain, and value professional contacts. In other words, your humility towards your professional contacts. These three are the key, according to me, to excel in your legal career. I think this solves the question of how a life of a law student will be, probably. To move on to the third question, someone has asked if is it very difficult to navigate through a law school? Well, it is not. It is not at all difficult to navigate through a law school. It is completely full of fun. Having said that, even the most toughest jobs in a law school are very easy to navigate, especially when compared to our peers from different streams or various other courses, say arts, engineering, or medical for that aspect. One can literally choose to remain idle in a law school and still succeed professionally by learning from their experience alone. So it really depends on how you put it to use, have you tap the resources which the university has to offer, and yes, of course, university has a lot to offer. There won't be any spoon feeding. At least that was the case with my alma mater. There was no spoon feeding, literally, leaving it completely to the students, leaving it completely to the peers to decide what they want to explore. I would say law school is more like a scrumptious buffet, offering all varieties of dishes in front of you and leaving you the option to choose what you want to pick or what you want to grab. So it is completely upon you to grab whatever you like and to manage whatever you grab. So to moving on to the next question, someone has asked how important it is to participate in co-curricular and extracurricular activities during law school. Well, this is a very pertinent question, to be honest. I would say it is extremely important to participate in co curricular and extracurricular activities during law school for one simple and straight reason, which is classroom knowledge, at least when it pertains to law education, is only one third of what we expect to equip ourselves with. It is, uh, it is indeed very important to participate in events which will not only limit to debates or moods or MUNs for that aspect. It is much more than what we perceive it to be it practical training, paper presentations, part time editorial experiences, what else, legal aid activities, sports, volunteering, quizzing, organizational experiences, extra, etc. So it is much more than mooting, debate, and MUNs. So, break away from the convention. Even sky is not the limit in this legal field to explore. I'd say these are very indispensable if you truly desire to have a colorful career or a colorful mix of experience in your career. Uh, Further, these are even the preferred attitudes which the recruiters or a selection panel, or any of your senior for that matter, would want to side on to understand your true capability of the student or the potential employee, sorry. So I would say this is very indispensable to explore. I mean, you need to have co-curricular, extracurricular knowledge to participation to be successful in your legal career. Um, always prefer an education with, I'd say always prefer an education with an encompassment of holistic experiences of development of your personal self, and not just the one which awards you with a degree, or which will end you in a job, literally. So you just have to build yourself. You just have to focus on a holistic development of your personal self, which I think this legal field has a lot to offer. To coming to our final question, someone has asked, what are the components that law students' CV must have? Okay, this alone can go on for a 1 hour session, but to briefly sum it up, to start with, a curriculum vitae is what defines you professionally as a person to the end receiver. If you're going to send it to a potential recruiter or a selection committee or a selection panel for that matter, it defines you professionally as the person or as who you are to them. CV should always be tailor made and bespoke to what you want to attain in that pursuit or at that moment. I'll briefly list out or call out the essential headers which should find place in a typical CV. It should initially start with your name and contact details, followed by your academic areas of interest. These are the two essential things which should be there. Followed by your educational qualification. If you're still in the university, you can say you're in semester 7 or semester 8, comma, TNNLU, comma, your percentage till that particular semester. Followed by your high secondary education, you can just say +2 from so and so school, comma, percentage. This particular header should be followed by any additional academic qualifications such as certificate courses, online or diplomas, or credit courses which you do in your universities. I mean, additional credit courses which you externally take and pursue in your university, etc. These are the headers which fall in the education category, followed by your work experience. So work experience will literally include your recent work experience if you are a pass out or a graduate who is currently working. If you're still a student, your work experience tab should contain your all your internship experiences in the reverse chronological order. Say whichever was the recent one should be on top of it, and followed by whichever was the last one you did. Also, it is very pertinent to mention 1 or 2 lines about your internship, or very intriguing topics which you worked in each header. Say, for instance, if so, I was interning under a senior counsel in the Supreme Court, where I got to assist him in the decriminalization of homosexuality matter. So that was one intriguing topic which I found, which I worked on actually in my internship. So under my column, I would say internship in chambers of Mr. So and so, senior advocate, Supreme Court of India, and within brackets, you should mention your period as well, say June 2020 to July 2020, for example. And the next line should follow, assisted in so and so matter before the Honorable Supreme Court. So it varies on where you intern, varies on what matter you work on, etc. But it always is best to give a gist of your work to anyone to whom you send your CV out to. This particular header should be followed by your achievements tab, where there'll be mentions about your paper submissions, conferences, paper presentations, conference papers or paper publications, moot court achievements, ADR achievements, say negotiation, mediation, or client counseling, followed by your parliamentary debates, MUNs, etc. etc. So, one tip in particular to this header is that whatever is your best achievement which you want to project, say I went for a moot in 2015 where I won, but all my other moots following 2015, I didn't qualify even to semi. So, for instance, I didn't even qualify anywhere. So, my 2015 moot where I won should be on the top, saying winner, comma, so and so moot, comma, this particular period, followed by all other participated, the moots in which you participated. So this should typically be it. So this header should be followed by the next tab, which should mention your positions of responsibility. So say you would have been in some positions in your university, say some committee, student welfare committee, hostel committee, mess committee, or legal aid committee, moot court society, be it anything. So there you will be mentioning member Kumar, so and so society, so and so academic year, and if you have organized any of or been part of the organizing committee of any of the national, say, conferences, seminars, moods, you can very well mention that as well. This projects your organizational capacity to the potential recruiter or the selection panel. So, yeah, professionally and academically, that should be it. Followed by your skill set, where you'll be mentioning about the languages known, what you can, like, all languages in which you are very well versed with. Followed by your accomplishments in research tools. Say if you can use some Manupatra, LexisNexis, Justar, Wahine Online very well, then you can actually mention that as well. So please don't mention Microsoft Word or Office for that matter. So it should be legal research tools. This particular skills tab should be followed by references tab. So under this references tab, it is always advisable to have two strong referees who would vouch for your capability whenever you send out a CV. Say, for instance, it could be a professor, it could be someone under whom you interned with. So you should put their personal mail ID, their name, personal mail ID, personal contact number, or the office contact number. One essential aspect you should remember is that before mentioning their name, please get a nod from them, or just put a word to them that you are mentioning him or her as your referee, so that if some call goes to them, they are in a position to respond back, knowing very well. So I think these are the essential aspects which should be there in a CV. So formatting your CV to look clean is the most essential of all. One should keep in mind. Once a CV should be very clean, it should be in a proper format to be very impressive to attract a potential recruiter. To be honest. Also, on a lighter note, do not send the same contents or contents in the same order to all places, to every recruiter or to every university when you're applying for higher education. Do not do that. You have to tailor make it, you have to do a bespoke CV, you have to edit every time so that it suits. Say, for instance, you'd be applying for an arbitration role in a law firm where your first area of interest should be arbitration, whereas in another column you would be or simultaneously you'll be applying for an intellectual property attorney role in another law firm where your area of interest should be IP in the first instance. So always keep in mind to edit, to proofread, to clearly format your CV before sending it out. So one last piece of advice, if I may, um, your CV should be updated very frequently and should be tailor made. And once you draft your CV, just before sending it out, perceive it from the shoes of the end receiver. So if I make a CV, I'll just go through it as if I'm a recruiter who wants to recruit, say, Surya. So I'll just go through it. I'll see if this CV is very convincing enough for me to select him for the particular position or for the particular seat. So only if it convinces me and I'm 100% sure that this CV is going to work out, you send it out. If you even have an iota of doubt, just hold it, just rework it, even if it's going to be the smallest of small matters, till it is perfectly tailor made. And then, yes, you can again do a review and then send it out. So I think these are the set of questions which I got from Mr. Shubhankar to be addressed with. So it is a pleasure addressing these questions, and it's always a pleasure addressing the law students here. So you can connect to me at Surya Narayana S. Mohan in LinkedIn if you have any further queries. Always open to help. Thank you. Have a great future.